Morning and welcome guys back to the session software engineering. We are discussing the first unit where now we will focus on SDLC, software development lifecycle, and I'll just quickly brush up the things what we discussed so far. Software is nothing but set of instructions plus associated documents with some methods that we have to used or we have used to develop the software. These all things we are calling as a together comparison to compare to form the software. To develop the software we are going to use a software engineering approach, and that software engineering approach works with phased development process. So what are that phase development process? That phase development process talks about the different phases means simply remember one method or what we can say one process, and the simplest way to develop the software is to follow a phased development process, and the different phases are analysis, designing, coding, testing and deployment. So in short we call it as a simply ADCTD. Now today's session we will focus on each and every phase. So whatever the software we are seeing, discussing, we are going to develop, we have to follow a standard process to develop it, and that standard process is called as what? Software development life cycle. It is made up of 5 phases. So simply remember SDLC is equal to ADCTD. Now let's focus on the first phase, and what we can say, these phases are done in a proper sequence. So simply remember their sequence also. We cannot change their sequence, or we cannot escape one of the step and then go into the next step. No, we have to follow a proper sequence. So it is known as systematic development, software development life cycle. So the very first phase of the this SDLC is analysis, designing, coding, testing and deployment. Sometimes it is referred as a maintenance. So it goes like in these scenarios. So first part is, if we take a general example, suppose a patient having some problems, health problems, went towards a doctor, and doctor is an experienced person. He starts to ask some basic questions, that is called as what? Preliminary investigations. Doctor tries to find out what are the problems customer is that patient is having. Now based on that, if you used to analyze whether this is what the problems and what will be the possible solution. So second phase is it's an analysis phase. Third phase is it's a designing, means if something goes wrong and the doctor could not able to find out in a proper way or in accuracy, doctor has a bit worry about that. So doctor asked him to go for some other tests like blood test, x-ray, sonography and all these parts, and then asked to come back. And when doctor checks his reports and all this, is confirmed that what he has done and to start the treatment. So this is what simplest interactions what the patient and doctor does. Similarly, in case of software development life cycle, you are going to develop a software, and that you are going to develop a software means you are going to try to convert a manual process into automated process, and you have to decide it whether that automation is possible for that problem or not. That will be decided as a part of a preliminary investigations. So this is very important phase that you have to understand. Second phase, software analysis. Now analysis means what? Simply remember its aim is to gain understanding of the needs. It is called as requirement analysis. So here we will try to focus mostly on analysis. Now what is analysis? Analysis nothing but try to understand what customer is expecting. Into the second chapter we are going to focus mostly on this part, requirement analysis, requirement management. So what you want as a customer and what the software engineer get, that we have to do in a proper systematic way. That is done as a part of requirement analysis process. Now let's take a simple example to understand the term requirement analysis. So you are in need of cup of tea, You ordered a tea and waiter brings a tea for you. You just took one sip and you realize that tea is not having a proper sugar. Will you accept that tea? Definitely not. So what was your expectation? Cup of tea. Now cup of tea is in your hand, but you are not ready to take it because the sugar is less. It means your expectation has to get fulfilled with some conditions. So expectations plus conditions, we will call it as what? A requirement. And technically we have to finalize that requirement in a proper way. That process we are calling requirement analysis process. So requirement analysis is nothing but, remember, it's an investigation. Its aim is to gain an understanding of the needs, requirements and constraints on the software. It involves how we are going to capture the requirement. It is very simple one, to have an interaction with client and users, read the system manuals, study the present system, help the client and user understand new possibilities, and to have be as a consultant over there. And you must able to understand the working of the organizations, client and users, to be playing the role as an requirement analyst. So this is a very important part. So analysis is one of the major role. Outcome of this analysis phase is SRS. So the first phase of the software development life cycle, simply remember analysis. Input for this phase is to interact with the customer needs, and output of this analysis phase is a requirement with their specifications, called as what? Requirement and SRS. So let's take one more example. Suppose you are interacting. Now suppose you have an open plot as a user, and 2000 square feet plot belongs to you, and you plan to have one bungalow over there. So what you will do? Yes, you will interact with civil engineer or civil architect. Means you will involve one third person into your project, and now that third person, civil engineer, is interacting with you. He is trying to understand what you want. You said one bungalow, so you have given as a user only one input, one bungalow, but that person called as an expert performs the analysis and concluded that one bungalow is equal to, depending on your interaction, he said that 2 bedroom, hall and kitchen, 2 BHK. So bungalow having 2 bedrooms, hall, kitchen. This is what the specifications. This is what the exact requirement we find out. Not that bungalow, we said 2 bedrooms. So one is a master bedroom, second is a slave. Master bedroom size, windows, these all the parts will be described as a specification. So this is called as what? A requirement analysis process. Is this clear? Okay. Now the second phase is designing phase. We'll continue with the same. Suppose we'll continue the same example. You said one bungalow, customer as a customer, and software engineer said okay, one bungalow is equal to 2 bedroom, hall and kitchen. And to complete this, he said that I am going to take place of 1 year, and the cost of the bungalow will be 50 lakh rupees. And as per that, the project is started. The construction is going on. And after 3 months, you decided to visit that site. So you are reaching to the site and you realize there is very less space for the parking. No proper ventilation is there. And like this. So what you will do? You will give input to the civil engineer, and you have to make changes into the ongoing construction. But to make a changes in ongoing construction, it will take some extra time. It will take some extra budget. So who is going to bear this cost? Will civil engineer will pay from his pocket? Definitely not. So how to solve this problem? There will be no solution for such problems. So the only solution for such problem is to, after completion of analysis phase, rather directly going for a construction phase, they need to go for one phase called as what? Design phase. So I hope you understood the importance of the design phase. So what we are going to do in the design phase? Before going to start an actual construction, what we finalized is in analysis phase. We'll try to convert it in terms of a diagrams. So drawing and diagrams, that phase we are calling as a designing phase. So there are lots of ways to perform the designs. In chapter number 3, we will follow the 2 approaches. One is function oriented design, and second is object oriented design. In function oriented design, we are going to draw the diagrams based on entity relationship diagrams, data flow diagrams, whereas in object oriented approach, we are going to use a UML diagrams, unified modeling language. So it supports basically 9 different types of diagrams, starting from it's an use case diagram towards to the class diagram. These are the various diagrams we are going to draw. So design phase means nothing but simply remember we are going to draw the different diagrams. So what we understood as a technical person in analysis, will try to convert it into design phase, diagram phase. So simply remember, analysis is investigation, whereas design is its a implementation. And this design can be done in two styles. There are the two levels for the design. One is low level design, second is high level design. We simply call top level design. So the civil engineer, after requirement analysis, shows blueprints how your bungalow will look like from different views, top view, left hand side view, right hand side view, nothing but different ways. Then structure diagrams, this is the high level diagrams, and the simply importance of the designing phase. After designing, the next phase is we are calling as a coding. So simply remember, this is as a construction phase. So what you find out as an analysis and design, exactly same will be implemented. What you said, one bungalow is equal to 2 bedroom, hall, kitchen, their size specifications done as an analysis. In design, you show the diagrams, blueprints. Now the contractor has to build the same thing shown in the diagram and analysis phase. Same time the coding phase is there. So what developer is going to do, he will take a programming language and he will use the same syntax what you said as an analysis and designing to go for the completion of coding. So that is what, simply remember, coding is nothing but translating the design of system into code depending on a programming language. Any programming language you can take, C, C++, Java, and many Python. It is a well written code, and the code must be well written to reduce the next phase efforts like testing and maintenance phase. So if you done a proper analysis and designing, definitely your coding will be well. If your coding is well, it will reduces the time of testing, and the next phase is deployment phase. So simply remember, the coding is nothing but rules where we will going to convert the things what we said as a part of analysis and designing. The next phase after the coding is testing. As the name suggests, test. So what we are going to do as a testing phase. So now coding phase done by the developers. Developers will give .exe files, means executable, to a next person called as what? Tester. Now what tester is going to do? Tester will run the code by giving input and will observe the output, whether it is as per expectations or not. If it is as per accepted, okay. If not, will be reported back to the development team for making a changes into the code. We will call that phase as a testing. So testing is nothing but examining. It is nothing but controlling the quality of the software. So basic function of the testing is to find out error, bugs, defects as much as possible before going the product to the end user. So it is just a process of executing a program, nothing but applications under normal and abnormal conditions by manual or automated means. We call that process as a testing process, and it is done basically for specification testing, functionality testing, performance testing. So we are going to have a more detailed discussions in testing phase as a part of 4th unit, software testing. So it works with the different levels like unit testing, integration testing, system testing, user acceptance testing, alpha testing, beta testing. And to perform the testing, we have two basic methodologies as a black box testing, white box testing. These are the ways. Black box means the blocks will be close to you. What is inside box you don't know, but you will give input and you have to check the output, whether the output is coming as per expected or not. We will call it as a black box testing. And the techniques to perform the black box testing is equivalence class partition, boundary values analysis, cause effect graphing. And white box testing, as the name suggests, the box is open to you, means the structure inside the box is open to you, the code, programming language, everything will be open to you. So what you are going to do inside that, you are going to check control flow, you are going to check the data flow. So these are the methods to perform the white box testing. Now then, after testing, the next phase is deployment. We simply call it as a maintenance, because the softwares, after going for analysis, designing, developer done, tester test, if it is okay, it is given to end user, and end user tries to use it. And if any problem occurs, then the respective team will solve that problem. So we are calling that software is now in maintenance phase. So it is never ending phase. Like a bike, you purchased it, you are using it, means the bike is deployed by the company at your side and you paid amount for them. If any problem comes, you take that bike to the showroom and the person sitting over there tries to solve your problem. We call it as it's a maintenance. So it is in the deployment phase. So it is just nothing but never ending phase, and it is simply continuously trying to get an interactions with your end users for support types of jobs and all. So simply remember, the software development life cycle has to follow the phases like analysis, designing, coding, testing and deployment. Is this clear? Okay, we will take a pause here. In next lecture we will start with the software process models and all the parts.